A major new cost is coming for North Shore and Metro Vancouver households, and yes, it has everything to do with the North Shore Wastewater Treatment Plant. I'm Jeremy Cato, and this is the North Shore. Thanks for watching, and if you have not already subscribed, please do. It really helps the channel. I'm down here under the First Narrows, the Lionsgate Bridge, and this is where the Lionsgate Wastewater Treatment Plant is located. This plant opened more than 60 years ago and is still functioning while the new plant is under construction. But when that plant is up and running, the site here for this plant needs to be completely remediated, and it's a complicated process, and it will be very, very costly. Yes, this old site must be demolished and cleaned up once the new plant opens. Here's the problem. Metro Vancouver has not yet established a public planning range for what that cleanup could cost, even though the cleanup is mandatory and unavoidable. Okay, bear with me as I go through a few details. The new North Shore Wastewater Treatment Plant is projected to cost $3.86 billion. Today, that's the number today. But that price tag does not include the total demolition and environmental remediation of the old plant here behind me. And that is going to cost a lot of money. How much? We don't know. Metro has said that only a preliminary design study has been funded and not the cleanup itself. Cleaning up a legacy wastewater treatment plant like this isn't simply a matter of tearing down a few buildings and hauling away all the junk. It typically involves removing buried pipes and tanks, investigating contaminated soil, managing groundwater, and addressing shoreline areas where contamination may be present. Metro has said this site must be remediated to BC's strictest standard, the CSR Residential standard, which applies not to just the land, but also to groundwater and shoreline areas. And here is the key point. Metro can't tell you the total cost because Metro hasn't done the homework. I know, I asked. We are talking about the site investigations needed to define the problem and the research to define the specific scope of remediation. And it has not prepared even a preliminary order of magnitude estimate. That's something engineers call a Class 5 estimate. In other words, Metro cannot tell households what range of costs they're facing. Tens of millions? Hundreds of millions? More? And here's the part North Shore households should understand. Under Metro's cost-sharing formula, North Shore households would be responsible for roughly 30% of the total cost of the site remediation and cleanup here. The share is defined. The total is not. We don't have to look far to understand how complex waterfront cleanup can be. Just east of this plant are the Pacific Environment Center lands. These federally leased lands have been under environmental remediation for roughly 8 years. Public sources indicate costs have already run into the tens of millions of dollars, and the work is still ongoing. That site is not a direct comparison, but it shows that even relatively constrained waterfront sites can take many years and substantial resources to remediate. It's important to be clear here. The absence of a cost estimate does not mean that this site remediation will be inexpensive. Metro already knows that this site includes multiple recognized cost drivers, a foreshore location, tidally influenced groundwater, decades of buried wastewater infrastructure, demolition combined with remediation, and the highest cleanup standard under provincial law. Yet none of this has been translated into a public planning range. There's been no costing here. This isn't alarmism, and it's not about guessing a final dollar figure. It's about transparency and basic financial planning. Before the big bill arrives to clean up this site, and it could be years from now, residents deserve to know the scale of the obligation and why Metro has yet to define it. I'm Jeremy Cato, and this is the North Shore. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.